Believe, an LA football podcast.
Touchdown Rams!
Touchdown UCLA!
Recovered by the Chargers.
The Trojans back in front. Touchdown Wildcats!
With your host, Ryan Zyrud, on the Believe Podcast Network and LAFBnetwork.com. This is your destination for Los Angeles football.
What's up, Los Angeles football fans, and welcome to another edition of the Believe in LA Football Podcast, here on the Believe Podcast Network, also on LAFBnetwork.com, your destination for all your favorite Los Angeles football teams. Well, it's been a sombering year. Sombering year. It's been a tough week or so now. You know, I've been kind of wrestling with how I wanted to approach today's episode. We're going to talk some UCLA football, talk Martin Jarmond, the newest addition, the new AD of UCLA, and kind of what he'll bring to the program, what we can expect maybe on the football side. We'll do a little Chargers and Rams talk, but I felt I needed to at least talk a little bit about, you know, the George Floyd murder, the racism that still exists in this country, sadly, the riots that we're seeing going on, communities being torn apart. So I felt that I wanted to at least give my 2 cents. If you don't want to hear it, just skip forward. It'll be just a couple minutes. You know, I've always on this podcast, since I started it over, a year and a half ago. Since I started writing 3 or 4 years ago about sports. I've always wanted to keep politics out of it. One, because honestly I hate politics. I just think nothing good usually comes from talking about politics. You're not going to sway anyone's opinion. It just creates malice and argumentative opportunity, which we're talking sports. There's plenty of arguments and debates, but I feel like it's a much more good-natured. Politics get nasty, so I hate that aspect. I'm not a huge fan of politicians in general. I just think they're kind of slimy, but that's for a different conversation. But this isn't politics. This is talking about human life, our neighbors, our community. Specifically here in Los Angeles, where we live, and most of you listening probably live in LA, but we do have other people that live in other parts of this nation or even other parts of the world. Thank you for listening. But we all deal with stuff like this. We're all witness stuff like this. I shouldn't say we all deal with, or we deal differently with stuff like this. But I've always seen this podcast as an escape. One, for me, as I have a passion for football, obviously, or I wouldn't be doing this. 2, I wanted to be able to tell the stories of the great Los Angeles teams. I don't consider myself necessarily a reporter or journalist, although I do some of that every now and then. But more so, I want to be a storyteller. You know, there's great athletes in this game. Great athletes, great coaches, great personnel. Just great people in this game. And I want to be able to talk about that. And also for you, the listener, if you listen to me twice a week, my hope was that for those 2 hours a week, you can escape the mundane of your job, maybe, escape from anything going on at home, and just listen to LA football talk. Have good guests on, we have some fun. That's my goal, and that will be my goal always, and especially going forward. But it'd be wrong of me to at least not mention kind of how I feel about what's going on. Whether you call this a platform, this is a platform. We do have thousands of people that listen. Again, thank you. And it just breaks my heart seeing what's going on. Absolutely breaks my heart. The fact that there are people in this country, black people in this country, that have to worry about their livelihood, when they step out of the house, that have a fear of dealing with law enforcement. Now, I've had my fair share of unpleasant encounters with law enforcement. Most of mine have been for routine traffic, and usually I would say I haven't been treated respectfully, but never once did I fear for my life. Never once did I get pulled over and say, oh man, if I don't say exactly the right thing, this could be it for me. I never had to deal with that fear. Sure, maybe an uncomfortable encounter, or I left feeling disrespected. But the fact that there are black people and other people, Latinos, Asians, minorities, other groups, that thought actually goes through their head. And we've seen it over and over and over again. We hear about it. There's video of it. Most recently, George Floyd murdered. In this country, we have a justice system that says you are innocent until proven guilty. Now, whether or not he was committing a crime does not justify him being murdered. Period. End of discussion. It breaks my heart. It's absolutely horrible. And of course, there are great police officers out there. My brother is a police officer. My brother is a great man, a loving man, and he joined the force to do good, to help create change for this problem. Of course there's good, but anyone that wants to jump on this immediate defense mechanism of us versus you, police versus minority groups, why? That's not helping. I saw a tweet recently, and I can't remember who it was, so I'm sorry I can't give you credit, but it basically said, for those that say all lives matter as opposed to Black Lives Matter, of course all lives matter. Of course they do. But they don't matter until Black Lives Matter. And then they painted or not really painted, but they tweeted out, imagine a neighborhood of houses. Everyone cares about their neighborhood, all the houses in the neighborhood. But if one house is on fire, your attention should go to that house on fire. You don't look at the house 3 doors down, 4 doors down that's totally safe and fine. Everyone should turn their attention to that house on fire. I thought that was a good way to kind of say, look, of course, all lives matter. We have to look at the lives right now that are being most affected by this and do what we can to help, whatever that is. I sit here often as a white male wondering, what can I do to help? What can I do to help? Obviously, I have a podcast here, a platform, if you will, but there needs to be more done. More done. If you're listening right now, message me on Twitter, Ryan Dyrud, LAFB. You can comment wherever you are listening to this podcast. Email me, podcast@lafbnetwork.com. Let me know how I can help. My wife and I were watching our church service yesterday. It's still done remotely, so we were at home watching church. And the message yesterday was on servanthood. Now, I don't know if it was just ironic that was the planned message going on during this time, or if our pastor maybe switched things up a little bit to talk about this during this time. But it hit home, and it's so true. Because even what I'm doing now, so many people love to do this. We sit on a soapbox. We preach about what's right, what's wrong. We say you should be doing this, you should be doing that, you shouldn't be rioting, you should be upset and rioting is okay. But really, how we create change, or at least create healing, is by serving. By serving others. People in power are put in power to serve others, to serve those that do not have power. So I want to start going just in our community. This is a problem at the top of our nation that needs to be addressed. But the easiest way, not even the easiest, the best way right now moving forward to create change is what can you do in your community, in your apartment complex, in your neighborhood? How can you serve others? Reach out to your neighbors. I want to reach out to the people in my community. I'm here in Pasadena. How can I serve you? How can you serve others? That's how we start creating change. By serving each other. Bringing a positive light among all of us. And I'm sorry, I'm kind of rambling. This wasn't prepared. I wanted to speak from the heart. But I think that's the best way that we can really benefit one another. Is just being there to serve one another. To listen. To listen when there's needs. I was thinking of Martin Luther King and his famous, of course, I Have a Dream speech. I wondered how many people have actually heard the speech. Everyone knows that I have a dream. Just that phrase. It's about a 16-minute speech. I recommend looking it up because it's a phenomenal speech. Obviously one of the most influential people in not only the United States but in the world. A great, great man, father, husband, activist, obviously. But I wanted to read part of the speech. Because I don't know how many people have really read it or heard it. So bear with me. It's just a little snippet here. It's a long speech, but here's a little bit. And so even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creeds. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. Now, this speech was 57 years ago in 1963. And in those 57 years, our country overall has made strides. There has been improvement. But still 57 years later, there are people, black people, who have this same dream that MLK had, but are still living a nightmare. Still living a nightmare. I saw a coworker of mine posted she had to recently, because of all this, and would have had to anyway, which is so sad. She's a black woman, had to have a conversation with her son, who's 9 years old, about how he would have to act differently in society, or how he would be looked at differently. Breaks your heart. Breaks my heart. I think of my daughter if I had to have that conversation. And my daughter technically is mixed. She'll be half white like me and half Mexican like my wife. But she will not have to endure the same difficulties as a black child. But I promise you this, she will be raised correctly to serve others, to see others for their character. And that's the other way we start. We raise our kids the right way. We raise our kids to serve others. And that's how we start change. That's it. Serve your community. Serve others. If you have power, how can you serve? Protesting is great. Voting is great. Serving others is better. So, if you're listening, please reach out to me. How can I serve you? How can my family serve you? We stand together. We stand united. There's so many blessings in this country, in this life that we've all built together. But there's also a lot of bad things. And as long as there's evil in this world, there will always be things to be improved on. And that starts by serving others. So, please reach out to me, Ryan Dyberd, LAFB on Twitter. If you're on Twitter, email me, podcast@lafbnetwork.com. I just wanted to say that, whether it was well said or well orated, I don't know. But that's just how I feel. I love people. I love relationships. And it breaks my heart seeing what people are going through, what people go through every day. Because I can't relate. I don't know what that's like. But let me serve you and help any way I can. Let me know what that looks like. Because sometimes I just don't know. And I need to know. So let me serve you. All right. Well, let's be better about that. But yeah, let's talk a little football today. We'll try to, now we can maybe escape for a little bit from the horrors that are having and going on. And let's talk a little bit about Los Angeles football. But real quick, I got to tell you about my friends at Bet Online. While you're waiting this out at home, whatever's going on, obviously we still are in the midst of a pandemic, and then everything else that I just talked about. You can still have some fun, escape realities with our partner BetOnline.ag. I know right now there's no NBA, no NHL, no baseball, although all are coming back soon to be on the horizon. But BetOnline still has hundreds of games, events, and sports to wager on. NASCAR's back, Madden and NBA 2K simulations. UFC's been back now for a little while. Fight nights every Saturday. And of course, there's the online casino with poker and blackjack. Make sure to check out The Final Dance with roundtable interviews from ex-Chicago Bulls Horace Grant, Bill Cartwright, Craig Hodges, and Ron Harper as they discuss the Michael Jordan doc in full. Great documentary, The Last Dance. This was brought to you by BetOnline, The Final Dance. Check that out. So like I said, go to betonline.ag and use the promo code MyPod100. It's going to get you a welcome bonus on your first deposit. If you're not already playing on BetOnline, I don't know what you're doing. But go now. Deposit now. You get a welcome bonus with your first deposit. And you make sure to use my promo code MyPod100. Again, that's betonline.ag. Use the promo code MyPod100. That's MyPod100. BetOnline, your online wagering solution. Alrighty, so UCLA made some news, some headlines as of late. New athletic director. It was announced last season Dan Guerrero would be his final as he was retiring. And so they made the choice to hire former Boston College director of athletics, Martin Jarmond. And this is a great hire. Great hire. He brings a great tenacity, and he's also a younger guy. You know, when he joined Boston College in 2017, he was the youngest athletic director of any Power 5 institution at the age of 37. Out here in LA, we love the young guys, you know? Sean McVay, his whole coaching staff is young. So bring in Martin Jarmond and keep that fountain of youth alive. But before that, even though his age is young, don't let that mislead you. He does have very strong background and very good experience. He served as the deputy director of athletics at Ohio State, moving up the ranks after arriving as an associate athletic director. So moved up quickly, and that's a pretty high ranking for a very, very good athletic program in Ohio State. Before that, he was an assistant athletic director for development at Michigan State. So worked for some really highbrow college institutions, really successful athletic departments. And while he was at Boston College, you know, the football team played in a bowl game every single year he was there. His coach was just hired by Colorado State, so he went through a coaching hiring process right before he left. So he's good there. The basketball team saw success. So, you know, specifically related to football, I think that has to be exciting to hear. The fact that his tenure, Boston College, played in a bowl game every year. Something that UCLA has not done in some time. something that UCLA is hungry for. And going into year 3 of Chip Kelly's tenure, I kind of have said I think there's still positives about his coaching tenure. I think there's still upside going into this year. It's not all doom and gloom. I know it was only a 1-game improvement from year 1 to year 2. But I also said if this team does not make a bowl game this year, I think that might be it for Chip. You need time to build a college football program, especially when you do a complete kind of 180 from what was the regime beforehand. I mean, they've changed stuff up, from fundamentally to scheme to everything. But this recruiting class is a really strong recruiting class. One of the tops in the Pac-12, top 30 in the nation. So that's how you start it off. Get some good recruiting. Hopefully he gets his guys in here. We'll need to see if this is still DTR as quarterback or they move on from him. I've talked about McGuire, who they brought in, who was a top QB prospect, pro-style prospect. But yeah, I think this AD hiring will bode well in the sense that he brings a winning pedigree, a leadership pedigree, and I think since Chip wasn't his guy, he'll have a kind of tight leash. When you come in an AD, and you come in with a lot of promise, a lot of passion, a lot of poise, you also come in with a lot of expectations. We see that already at USC with Mike Bohn and his whole thing of retaining Clay Helton, and I know that was a big unhappiness among fans. But we're seeing already the ramifications slightly in the fact that this next recruiting class, I know not this year, but this next one, is back to USC style. Phenomenal recruiting class in 2021. So sometimes just having that backing can bode well. Now we need to see them do it on the field. We need to see if Clay can grow as a coach. We need to see if his defensive coordinator hiring, his special teams hiring, improve that side of the ball. And we need to just let Graham Harrell do his thing on offense. But I think that backing helps. So we'll see how Martin Jarmond does with Chip Kelly. If he says, you know what, he's my guy still. If he does a wait-and-see approach, like, you know what, we'll see how we do this year. If UCLA goes 6-6, he's still the guy. If they win 5 wins, miss the playoffs, does he move on? Does he give him one more shot? I mean, these are meetings that are going to be had, obviously. Basketball program, I think, is back on the rise with a great hire out of Cincinnati, their coach. I think UCLA basketball is starting to grow and blossom. I love that hire, one of Dan Guerrero's finer hires after a list of bad basketball coaching hires. But yeah, the jury's still out on Chip Kelly, so we'll see what this new AD does. But like I said, he brings in a good winning pedigree. He's had success wherever he's been. He's youthful. He's young. He's energetic. He'll do a lot just for the athletic program, whether it's fundraising. I know that UCLA athletics has kind of fallen in a sense of just forgottenness. They don't get talked about. I mean, it's UCLA. University of California, Los Angeles. This should be a program for all sports at the forefront. Baseball, they've had some success. Obviously, it's more of a basketball school than a football school, but they haven't had success in basketball. Obviously, I just mentioned they're on the rise again. But yeah, football needs to get back to at least competitive, competing for the Pac-12 South. I know they don't have the pedigree of USC, but doesn't mean, this is a new, history is great and all, but you can turn things around. Kids want to play in Los Angeles, and why they have great facilities there. They play at the iconic Rose Bowl, so there should be no reason that you can't recruit to a school like UCLA. So we'll see what kind of pressure he puts on Chip Kelly and how they turn things around. But I think it's a great hire. I really do. What he did at Boston College with the resources he had and the success that they had in his short time there, 3 years there, I think we could really see some good improvement with UCLA athletics, specifically the football team. And yeah, that'll start with Chip Kelly and whether he's turns things around this year and is retained or whether they go a new direction. I'd hate to see the program start over again, but like I said, if they make a bowl game, he's safe. If they don't, I think we'll see a change in the guard. And we'll see Jarmond bring in his guy, since he's acquiring someone else's guy. So, yeah, UCLA athletics, that's kind of the latest on them. So, excited to see how they grow. I'm just ready for football back, man. I feel like now, more than ever, we need sports. Now more than ever. You know, this is bigger than sports. Everything going on. Coronavirus, the deaths in that, the fear people have to go out. Just talked about everything with George Floyd and the riots. But what sports does is it brings people together of all backgrounds. Even if it is just for a few hours a week, it brings people together. Now we need to take that, we need to harness that, and grow that into an every day, every hour, every minute, every second scenario. We're always together. But sports can spark that, can start that. And then we, as a community, have to keep that flame burning. But yeah, we need sports more than ever, man. I think all this fear, and I'm no doctor, and I would not condone anything if there's high risk of death, and I know that's what everyone's worried about, as they should be. I mean, we've seen this virus take a toll. Now, is the risk worth it? Is it worth making sure these games are played with fans to build a sense of community if it means that people will get sick? I don't know. And that's for you as an individual to decide. But I think as a community, the good can outweigh the bad, which obviously no unification necessarily outweighs death. I don't want to have that misconstrued. But if you feel confident in your health, if you feel confident in being out around large groups of people, if our hospital systems, as they are right now, can maintain and take people that are sick and are not overcrowded, not overrun, then I think it can do good, allowing these sports to be played, which it looks like we're on that path anyway. I think the NFL has really put together a plan that they are full go as far as playing. We haven't got to the part of fans. I know in Texas, I think they said they're allowing stadiums, outdoor stadiums, to be filled like 25%. Obviously, here in Los Angeles, we are not there yet, but finally, the governor said we can have sports at least back in June. The NHL has come with a proposal of getting back into play. Major League Baseball has, the NBA has. So I think sports are going to be here. The NFL, I think, will be here. College football is another kind of question, because if classes are not in session, how do you have a college football season? Where some classes will be, that's a whole different story, and that's very complicated how that works. I just think we need it. We need it, man. Sports have such a powerful impact on our communities. Powerful impact. Bringing people together. And we need togetherness more than ever right now. So I hope that there's no good that comes out of this, but I hope that because of what's happening, there's a more rapid approach to saying, you know what, we need to get our sports back. We need to get our teams back on the field. We need to get our fans back in the stands together, tailgating together, having that escape, that release. And like I said, then that spark that happens on Sunday morning in the parking lot of SoFi, that happens on Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon in the parking lot of the Coliseum, or on Brookside Golf Course out at the Rose Bowl, that spark, that escape, then we bring that back to our everyday lives. Serve others. Build community. Intertwine with all races. Because we are one race. We are the human race. So I know this is a very preachy episode. And I'm not trying to sound like I'm up on a glass tower talking down, because I want to be there serving as much as possible. But I just think sports is how we start that. So I was going to talk a little Rams and Chargers, but I think that'll be a good kind of ending for this episode. I love you all. I appreciate you all so much for listening. Next week, have an awesome, not next week, Thursday, a few days from now, have a great guest Great guest coming on. I'm super excited about this. I don't want to give too much away because I want you to tune in, but I'll just say it's a former USC quarterback coming on the Believe in LA Football podcast. So make sure to tune in for that. Please, everyone, be healthy, be safe. Serve someone. Serve someone. Be the change in the community that you need to be. Whatever that looks like. Listen. Listen to those that need help. Don't tell them what they need. Listen to what they need and then serve them. Thank you all so much. This is the Believe in LA Football podcast. Make sure to subscribe wherever you are listening. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher. We're on them all. I've said it before. We're not Joe Rogan. We're not going exclusively to Spotify. You can get us wherever you listen. You can go to lafbnetwork.com. Listen right there. Check out all of our great, great content and articles. We have an awesome staff here at LAFB Network. I'm so proud of the work everyone does. With no sports on, with a mulling off season, we've still put out content every single day, and we couldn't do it without all the great writers here at LFB Network. So if any of you guys are listening, I appreciate you, each and every one of you, every day. Much love, everyone. Please be safe, be healthy. Do something today you didn't do yesterday. Serve someone. And make sure to tune in on Thursday to the next episode of the Believe in LA Football podcast.